Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Mr. to Master. Hey, so today I'm going to take you with me. I got some running around to do, but I wanted to kind of go back a little bit in time and talk to you about my past or my history, because I kind of feel like that's important too. But I gotta say, I'm really honored that you guys are back and you're watching again, and I want to thank you for coming with me on this journey. Now, I told you I was going to take you with me on road trips. I was going to take you with me to my tournaments and to my testings and all kinds of things, including school owner things, learning how to train and be a master, what all that training involves. But there's a whole bunch of other things that you guys have got to learn as well on this journey to kind of understand what it is that I'm doing and what I'm going through. And the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to take you back in time a little to when I first started. Now, I was about 12 years old and I started in Taekwondo back in 1980. My stepdad decided that I had some issues dealing with stress and anger, and I just got really mad really easy, and so he took me down to this little local Taekwondo school. It was actually kind of a club, to be honest with you, and it was up at a local church, and it was a Taekwondo program. I got to do it for a little while, and then unfortunately my parents ran into hard times back in the 1980s. Boy, it was hard, you know, with John Deere shutting down and Caterpillar struggling, and the economy was bad, and there's just a lot of things going on, so my folks couldn't stay where they were, and of course they had to move on. So I graduated from high school, and I know I kind of mentioned this in another video, and then I joined the Marine Corps right after that, and so I was on active duty. I finished my first tour on active duty, and on my second tour I was in Cherry Point, North Carolina, and I walked into this little Taekwondo school in Havelock, North Carolina. Again, my senior instructor's name is Paul Leisky. Today he's a chief master, an 8th degree black belt, and he's no longer in Havelock as fate would have it. He's actually down in Wilmington, North Carolina. So he's moved a little bit, and that's okay. He's got a lot of juniors underneath of him. But anyway, in 1991, I was fortunate enough, I was out on my own, I was an adult, and I was able to start Taekwondo again. And so I went in and I started training. Now, I went all the way back to white belt, even though I had already had my yellow belt from my previous training. But I walked in and I said, that's fine, you know, just give me a uniform, give me a belt, I'll start all over. And I did, and he was so impressed with my training that he promoted me from white to yellow belt. Now, what you need to know is, in our particular style, we go from white to orange and then to yellow. And so we don't always, we're not like a lot of the other styles where it goes white, yellow, orange. Anyway, so I got to training. I spent a couple of years training with him. Now, mind you, I was still in the Marine Corps, so I'm traveling a lot. And so I'm to and from Yuma, Arizona a lot. I was to and from Iwakuni, Japan, and I was to and from other places around the United States, because we did a lot of little 6-8 week workups to go on our deployments. And so after a couple of years of coming in and coming out and traveling and training and just sticking it out, perseverance, I finally earned my first degree black belt in February of 1993. I was fortunate enough to continue my training there in Havelock, and then as I progressed, I was able to complete what we call our certification process. So I became a certified instructor under Master Leisky. And in the process of doing all my certification training, I also tested for my 2nd degree black belt, and so I got that in 1994. As soon as I had completed that in 94, in October of 94, I finished my contract with the military, and so I got out of the Marine Corps and I headed back to hometown USA. And while I was there, I went ahead and started my own school. Got started learning how to be an instructor and raise my own junior students and instructors. And then in 1996, I went down to Little Rock, Arkansas, and I tested for my 3rd degree black belt. And at the same time, Master Lightsky was there testing, and he tested for his 5th degree at that time, which was really, really cool. So I got to be down there with him at the same time. Now, this is a point in time in my career where life kind of got in my way, and I decided not to continue training in martial arts for a little while. I had some issues with my personal relationship, and I decided to close my school. Now, fast forward, it's 2011. Now, what happened in 2011 was I was on my way to a job. I used to work in floor covering, and so on my way to a job site, I stopped into the gas station and seen my son, TJ. And we got to talking back and forth about martial arts, and I told him that I had seen Chief Master nominee Michael Brown. He was getting inducted as a master at the time, and him and I were good friends, and we came up through the ranks together at Master Lightsky's years ago. But TJ asked me, he goes, "Do you ever think about starting another school again?" And I was like, every single day since I closed the first one. And he looked at me and goes, "I think you should do it." And so from there, I decided to go on ahead and get a hold of ATA headquarters and worked on getting myself another school license. And it wasn't long, and in 2011, I started my new school. I continued to train and learn, but when I started going back to the tournaments and looking around, I was like, oh my gosh. When I left, we primarily focused on forms, sparring, one-steps, work breaks. That was testing. Now, tournaments did, the traditional was forms, and then you had sparring. Now, white, orange, and yellow belts had one-steps, of course. We didn't do weapons. But now, mind you, I'm fast forward to 2011, 2012 timeframe. Now you started with XMA. Now there was creative forms, creative weapons, extreme forms, and extreme weapons. And I had never seen that before. So I walked back in, and those 4 events had been added. Now we did do some weapons training, but not a lot. But now they included weapons training. So you had color belts doing weapons, and they could do up anything they wanted. They could make any form. But the black belts had to make, or they had to do the ProTac version, or the official ATA version. And I didn't know very many of those. So I decided that even though I'd had more than enough time and grade to test for my 4th degree, I decided maybe I needed to stick around a little bit and pick up on some of these other things. So I started working on some of the weapons, learned how to do a bunch of those. I had to get an idea of what creative and extreme was, what the rules were for those. And then I continued to train myself in weapons so that I could school myself. As far as forms and one-steps were concerned, I was good on those. And so I gave myself a little bit of time, and then 3 years later, I kind of felt like, okay, now I'm ready to go on ahead and do my next testing. And so I tested for my 4th degree black belt in 2013. So you know there was a big jump in time there before I could test for my next rank. And I continued to grow and learn. In 2014-ish time frame, I decided to, after I'd learned my 4th degree form, that I wanted to kind of learn a little bit more. I felt like ATA was doing a great job. I felt very confident in myself, but the self-defense was just not there. Now, as fate would have it, Grandmaster Clark started a Krav Maga and a Kali program. Now, he did that down in Jacksonville, Florida. And every year in January, he hosted the Masters Gathering, and all the Masters, and well, technically 4th degrees and above, could go down to the Masters Gathering. So now I'm a 4th degree, I get to go to the Masters Gathering. So I go down there the first year, and I just did the Krav Basic. And wow, what a difference. Holy cow, was that a hard workout. Great workout. I came back really, really sore, but I felt like I learned so much more, and my self-defense, my confidence was a lot higher. And I decided, yep, I'm going to keep doing the Krav Maga. So I continued. I went back down there in May, and then I did the level 2A, And then I went back in September and I did a level 2B. So now I've done one of all of the cycles through his training. And then I found the Kali. And the Kali is a Filipino martial arts. And once I seen that, I had to try it. I had to get in there and try it. And Master Apollo was, of course, the instructor for that course. And so I walked in and I signed up for the Kali. Now, I kept training and doing what I was doing, and in 2017 at World Championships, I tested for my 5th degree black belt. Now, by this time, I'd grown my school. I had well over 100 students, and we were doing really, really well. Kate and TJ were doing very well. School was growing, and I decided that at some point in time, we're going to have to get our own school, like our own building. And so we ran into an opportunity in 2019 to purchase our own building, and so we did. And then in 2022, I tested for my 6th degree black belt. Now, that's kind of my timeline of what I went through to go from 1st degree through 6th degree. The rest of the training I still don't know yet. I've got to go down and do some more stuff. I'm heading out to Pittsburgh at the end of this month, well, actually the middle of this month. I'm going to be doing some training out there, learning some more color belt material that's new for the weapons, and just learning how to judge and be at the head table. Because I got to tell you, it feels a lot different at the head table than it does sitting out in the audience. So anyway, I'm glad you guys stayed with me on this journey. All right, I got so much more to tell you. I'm going to have to take you back again in time. We'll talk a little bit more about color belt training and what it takes to become a black belt to start with. You got to get your black belt before you can ever become a master. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and we'll talk about that too. If you guys like this content, can you do me a favor? Go down below and make sure you hit that like button. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel. If you go over there and you hit that bell icon, you'll be sure to get the notification on the next video when it comes out. Now, what I'd really like for you to do for me, and I've asked you this before, go down in the description and tell me where you are in your martial arts journey. I'm curious as to where you are, and what are your plans? Do you plan on becoming a master someday, or have you given it that much thought? I can be honest with you, when I started training, the only thing I had in mind was I just wanted to be a black belt. That's it. I really didn't think beyond that. But we'll talk about that as well in the next video, but do me a favor and tell me where you are and what your thoughts are, all right? Thank you so much for sticking around, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.